Jesse Brady, I do want to answer this. All right, this is a phenomenal question. What is more important, the organization you're targeting or the seniority level of the position? Would you advise setting a lower seniority position if the organization is highly desirable? Yes. So, you join a company. You do not join a job. And while a lot of you think that it's important that your title be a certain way and you have to have a certain role, I assure you, from decades of working as a practitioner, just like you, as a recruiter for half of those 3 decades, and now as a career coach for 5 years, I am telling you, the company you work for matters so much more than what it is you specifically do. Now, I know some of you are going to argue with that point. You're going to say, well, I didn't get a job because I didn't have this and that experience. I'm telling you, you get in with a great company, you are well better positioned and on a much better trajectory than if you got a great role with a crappy company. If you've got a mediocre role with a great companies, what do? Number one, and by the way, great does not necessarily mean a household name. Like, you don't have to work for Coca-Cola. You don't have to work for IBM. A great company could be a 10-person company. So don't misunderstand that either. Are they an ace in their space? If they are, if they're well known in the space, if they are the go-to player or in the top couple or 3, if they know how to grow their employees, if they know how to provide opportunities, if you have a lower role but you're going to get to wear multiple hats, I would take that any single day. Number one, that's a personal opinion. I have experience in both large companies and small companies. To me, smaller companies are a lot more fun because I get to do a lot more things, and I got to learn a lot more about running a business. You get to learn about the other departments or units or processes or whatever. I would trade a senior role for a lower role with a better company that treated its employees better, gave you more opportunities. There are other things that go along with what I call the value package of your offer from an organization. Value means value to you, not dollars and cents like compensation. That's a part of the value package, but the value package, as I assess them, as I wrote about in Interview Intervention, it's what I get to do, who I get to do it with, training opportunities, vacation, all that other stuff that goes along with compensation. What am I going to get to learn? And what are the growth opportunities? And all that other good stuff. So, Jesse, it's far better, in my opinion, it is far better to go with a great company. And I don't know if you have seen my webinar, 3 Secrets to Get Your Resume Noticed, where I describe how I go through a resume and how 90% of reviewers, even if they're not trained to go through a resume, this is how they go through it. And I look at your name, I look at the whole entire top portion of the first page, and then I look down the left column to see where you worked. Okay, believe me, if I'm a recruiter or I'm somebody who's evaluating people to hire, I'm going to know my space. I'm likely going to know my space. Now, if I don't know those organizations, then what I'm hoping is there's a description of what the organization does. Just because you live in Europe and you've migrated to the U.S. and you've been here 10 years, but you've got 10 years in Europe and 10 years in the U.S. and you work for some European companies that I might not be familiar with and I'm looking to hire somebody, if you can neutralize that disadvantage by sharing with me what that company does, leader in manufacturing, semiconductors in European, blah, blah, blah. That will help me understand. Okay, now I understand who that company is. I might look that company up. Okay, so that's just another thing. So not only is it more important, but I know what some of you are going to ask me. Well, if I sacrifice my level when I go to apply for my next job, and let me cap off this talk with that thinking. You, in your entire life, in anything that you do, in any goal that you undertake, in any project that you work on, in any relationship that you're in, will be far better served focusing on your happiness on that day, in that minute. Okay? I'm not worried about 5 years from now if I ever want to fold up my Mile Walk and Mile Walk Academy tent. Right now, I'm focused on getting the most enjoyment out of what I'm doing with you. If I do that, now that's literally at 11:18 this minute. It's also at this hour of this day. It's also this day. It's also this week. It's this month, and so on. And my job as a career coach. If you are focused on what you're doing and wringing every possible joy out of it, you will not only do it better, but you will progress faster, you will appreciate it more, you will be happier. All of that will in turn has a way of making great things happen for you just based on your attitude, your experience, your enjoyment. If you're worried about how this is going to look 3 years from now, when you might or might not change your mind, when your company might be acquired, when you might get fired, who knows? You might get married and she's from a different city and you might want to move. My point is focus on the moment. And don't get me wrong, I want you to have some foresight into the future and have a plan. But I want your daily enjoyment to supersede your long-term wishes. It should. You should be on a trajectory that is working toward the goals and the places you want to go. But getting in with a great company at a lower level could be a critical stepping stone in doing that and enjoying yourself more. Would you rather be in a more senior role that you didn't like at a company that you didn't love, that might not be a leader in its space, might not have a great reputation, might not give its employees a lot of opportunity? Or would you rather have a lower level and work in a great environment and then worry about what that looks like at some point when you do want to go and find a new job? Believe me, the story will work itself out if you're focused on the right stuff. We have recruited people who have made major mistakes and not taken jobs to get with better companies because they were worried about how it was going to look 3 or 4 years down the road. When I couldn't tell you how many times I can count people that didn't take jobs, that 6 months later, they got fired, their company folded, they were out of work. Now they're in a position where they don't have any leverage, and it looks even worse. You just don't know what the future holds. So why not be happy today? That's my point there, Jesse, and everybody else. Focus on what you love, even if it's for less money. If you get an opportunity to work with a great mentor, you should do that. If you get an opportunity to work in a great organization. And let me actually cap it off with this. I wrote an article a while back, when we didn't do as much video as we do now, called 7 Opportunities to Take a Pay Cut. It's on my blog. Maybe Kara can drop it in the chat, and I would take a look at that. Those are the 7 reasons why I would consider doing that. But not saying that you have to take a pay cut, but that this is the way I think where these 7 opportunities are going to pay off dividends in the long run, right? The longer term you think, the better your short-term decisions are. So if I'm happy today and I'm taking a step back to get ahead, or I'm taking a step back to work with a great company, or I'm maybe taking a less title level to get with a great company, that's a smart move because you're thinking long term, even though I'm telling you to focus on today. I hope that makes sense. That's a great question. Man, I probably just went, I don't know how long that answer was, but that was worth every minute of what I told you because it's really, really important. And I know a lot of you were confused about that. So I hope that helps. But Jesse, that's a great one. Thank you.